All right, guys, before we jump into today's video, I wanted to let you know that during Black Friday and Cyber Monday, that big sale we did over on the merch store, you made two hats our new best sellers. The Beers and Bets hats, which is two of our favorite things on a hat, right? And the Football Couch Club, also, I guess, two of our favorite things. We have gone ahead and kept these hats on sale. So go ahead and check it out, fademe.store, fademe.store, or GuyBostonSports.com/store. I'll put a link down below in the description as well as the pinned comment as well, but go pick up one of our new best-selling hats at a discounted rate. Go ahead and check that out. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got week number 14 and the Sunday slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these matchups. I'll break them down. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within each one of these games as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so that I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to ride with me, or if you do want to fade me, all of that is absolutely free down in the pinned comment. Now, before we do dive into the games, I'm going to ask you to do a couple things. First and foremost, smash that like button, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, guys, and let me know all of your favorite plays for this Sunday slate down in the comments. I absolutely love reading, reacting, and just kind of going back and forth with you guys with your plays down below, and I love gauging where our community is rolling with and what they're riding with on these Sunday videos. So go ahead and drop your favorite plays down in the comments. We have some momentum coming off of Thursday Night Football. We go 3-1 there, and honestly, it was great because our worst play was the one that was our lowest unit amount wagered. So love to see that. Let's see if we can pull some of that momentum into this Sunday, because let's be real, guys, last Sunday was not all that great. We've had a lot of good Sundays, last Sunday not being one of them, but let's see what we can do in this one. Starting it off with the Falcons taking on the Seahawks right now at home. Falcons getting 7 points, total sitting at 44.5. These two squads are truly in two different leagues right now. You have the Seahawks at 9-3. On the road, they're 5-1 as well, going up against the 4-8 Falcons, so we're just 2-3 at home. Falcons, even with a win here, most likely are not making the playoffs. And the Seahawks, I don't want to say punch their ticket, because I think it would be like a 95-96% chance to get in there. But with a win here, yeah, that's their percentage of making the playoffs. So obviously a bigger game for the Seahawks. And if you can get this inside 7, that's probably where I would go. This is a Seahawks team that is playing phenomenal defense. And what they're really good at, is stopping the run. And Bijan Robinson, especially with no Drake London, Michael Penix out, Bijan Robinson is this offense, right? So if he's healthy, which Drake London again is, I believe has already been ruled out at this point. We record these a couple days in advance. But if Bijan Robinson's the only guy that really has an offensive pulse for this Falcons squad, I don't see how the Seahawks don't say, hey, let's just focus in on that. Now, I will say, in this season being, I guess the last 6 weeks is what we have this data from, the Seahawks don't cover the outside zone run all that well, right? Which is what the Falcons run. But again, if you just know what's coming, I think you can adjust that. So give me the Seahawks in this spot, minus the 6.5 points if you can get it. That total at 44.5 just seems a little bit too high if I don't think there's going to be too much offensive output out of this Falcons squad. So I'll slightly lean towards the under as well. I think that this could be a spot in which we target a Falcons team total under if we really wanted to get specific with it. And then from a player prop perspective, yeah, I had already kind of mentioned I don't love Bijan's spot in here. Yes, he's obviously the most talented guy on the team, but this Seahawks defense is so good, and especially if they know exactly what's coming, I think Bijan struggles to get things going here. So I'm going to lean towards his under on the ground as well. It's 64.5. He's absolutely crushed this over his last 4 games. He's crushed it this season, and last time he played Seattle, he had 100 yards, which was dating back to last year. But to me, this just is not a spot in which they already know they're out of it, right? Why are they going to jeopardize maybe with an injury or something like that? It could be an Algier spot if for all I care, but I just don't think Bijan tears him up. Next up, Ravens taking on the Steelers. This could be and should be, for all intents and purposes, a really good game, right? You have the Ravens who, with a win here, move towards potentially making the playoffs, but with a loss, I think they're like less than 30% chance to win or something like that via NFL.com. And the Steelers in a very similar boat. Like both of these teams with a win now have an over 60% chance to win, but with a loss, they may be punching their ticket out of here. Obviously, the Ravens at home, healthy now, -6. They are, I would consider them, the slightly better team, but these two teams seem to play each other really, really tough. I do believe that this Ravens squad can get the ground game going. You can even see here via our dashboard a very good ground game, which we know, right? But how about this? The specific ground that they run in terms of scheme is the outside zone. Pittsburgh not all that great at stopping it. And on the flip side, like Pittsburgh in terms of outside zone, man duo, whatever they want to run in terms of schematics on the ground, Baltimore's pretty damn good at stopping. And this has not been the best on the ground defense so far for Pittsburgh this year. Honestly, hasn't been the best defense that we anticipated. So I do think that the Ravens have the upper hand here. This is a game that I can honestly admit, if someone was like, no, I'm hardcore Steelers this week, I think Aaron Rodgers steps up and blah, blah, blah. I do kind of get it. I mean, you have Lamar, you have Aaron Rodgers, neither one of which I expect to be too pressured. So they may be able to stand back in the pocket and deliver. But I think what sets this Ravens team apart this week is the fact that Derrick Henry is in a favorable matchup, overall, right? We just looked at that in terms of the run scheme. So I think Derrick Henry's able to go out there and say, hey, let me control the ground game, let me control the game's pace and all that. In terms of his rushing yards, it's 80.5. I don't necessarily love that, but you could get behind him scoring a touchdown this week at -143 over on Novig. If I think that this is going to, like I'm mentioning, be a game in which they win within the trenches, you get inside the 10-yard line. I think Derrick Henry may have 3 carries coming his way. Throw in the fact that Pittsburgh really hasn't let up many touchdowns to running backs. I think that's why we're getting a good line. But Derrick Henry is not many running backs, right? So give me the Baltimore Ravens, Derrick Henry there to score a touchdown. And then in terms of the total, I don't mind the over. I just said that the Steelers defense really isn't where it needs to be right now. Though this Ravens defense has been terrible all year, yes, they're getting healthier, and yes, they're a little bit better than they were. Their pass defense still is alarming. And I talked about the fact that they don't apply pressure. You're going to give Aaron Rodgers, who when not pressured this year, has been pretty damn good. You're going to give him some time in the pocket to find his guys. I don't mind the idea of over 42.5 in this spot either. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills 5.5-point favorites at home here as they take on the Bengals. Now, I've seen, including Tassos, right, on H2H, I've seen a lot of people leaning towards Cincinnati in this spot, and I do get it and understand it, right? They've covered in 4 straight games now. That's dating back like years against Buffalo, and they do get good around this time. I totally get it. But this seems a little similar to that game where everybody, and I forget what week it was, but the Bills played the Panthers, right? And everyone's like, oh, this Panthers team, they're grindy. They're going to keep this game close. The Bills won 40-9, and I seemed like I was the only person in the world that was laying the 7.5 points with Buffalo. Now we're inside a touchdown here at, 5.5. I just can't get it out of my head that this Bills team is, in my opinion, 10x the team that the Bengals are. We really haven't seen a great defensive performance out of the Bills, so maybe that's what everyone's kind of grasping at here. But ultimately, it's been the run game defense that's really struggled. This is a, third to last team in terms of running the ball on the ground in the Bengals. I know Joe Burrow's back. I know Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. I know the weapons they have. But to me, this is going to be a game of anything you can do, I can do better with a Josh Allen and Joe Burrow side by side. So I'm going to lean towards the Bills here, minus the 5.5 points. I just, like I said, I just see everyone liking the Bengals, and part of me is like, yeah, I get it, but I just think this Bills team so much more. Throw in any sort of playoff implications. Now, yes, facts are facts. The Bengals need to win pretty much to keep their hopes alive, but the Bills with a win kind of punch their ticket. You know what I mean? So this game should have some intensity on both sides for that reason. It's going to be cold. It's going to be in Buffalo. Give me the Bills minus the 5.5 points. And in doing so, I think I lean towards the under. I'm hopeful, at least because we're leaning towards the Bills, that their defense shows up a little bit, because if you're on the Bengals, I totally get someone being like, no, I like the over, because you're anticipating and seeing and thinking that points come, right? I'm thinking the Bills defense may step up, so I'm going to lean slightly towards the under. From a player prop perspective in this one, I've gone back and forth a few different times here on what we want to do, because when looking at this Bengals defense, we've talked a lot about the Bills defense, right? This Bengals defense is crap. They're allowing the most passing yards per game and the second most rushing yards per game. I'm like, okay, Do we look at Josh Allen to tear it up? I already said anything you can do, I can do better, blah, 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 right? Or is it a James Cook game in which they say, hey, feed the man. That's how we're going to win. We look at his yards, we look at his attempts and that type of thing. And I've talked about many times here on this channel, when James Cook gets the rock, they win games, right? When he gets the ball 18 or more times, I feel like they may be undefeated this year, something like that. But his line's at 19.5. That's a hell of a lot. So yeah, maybe his yards, maybe his attempts. I think they could lean into James Cook, but it would not shock me if it's another one of those Josh Allen takeover type games. You know what I mean? Especially because it was a James Cook week last week. Hey, real quick, guys, before we do move on, I want to talk to you about Underdog. If you've not been playing on Underdog yet, I promise you, you are missing out. And guess what? You are about to miss out on one of the best deals that they are offering. I'm pretty sure a little birdie told me that this deal is going to change fairly soon. So jump on board, guys. New customers, play just $5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get 100. I don't have enough fingers for 100 or I do the same thing, all right? Jazz hands out here. Play $5, get 100 for new customers signing up. Again, this is going to lower pretty soon, allegedly, apparently. Little birdie told me. So take advantage of it while you can. Play $5, get $5 with the link down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. And oh yeah, you're also going to get a free square there. Patty Mahomes, 0.0 yards. Go take advantage of that for Sunday Night Football as well. Tons of boosts, discounts, and cool things that Underdog is implementing into their app, whether you're on the phone, tablet, laptop, computer, desktop, anything, right? Ton of cool stuff over there. So go ahead and check it out. Again, link down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Make sure to use code GUYBOSTON when signing up. GUYBOSTON. Bing, bada boom. Spelling bee champ. Let's go ahead and jump back into these games. All right, the next game we move into is one of the best games on the slate. I can't believe that this line is where it is. Two absolute powerhouse teams. We are looking at the Tennessee Titans and the Browns. Yeah, Browns 4.5-point favorites here at home. Total at 33.5. I guess the only thing that we could say here is Titans stink all around. At least the Browns are a good enough defense, and they've been really good at home. Though Cam Ward stinks, this is still a Titans team that's passing the second highest rate, which makes a little bit of sense, right? When you're losing games and all that, you're going to throw the ball more. But at home this year, this is a Cleveland team that's only allowing 138.4 through the air. That is damn good. So I'm going to lean Browns minus the 4.5. I don't really trust Shedeur or this offense at all, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, wow, this defense is going to win them games. You still got to put some points up to win games, right? So I'm a little concerned there, but in terms of a lean, Browns minus 4.5, sure, give me that one. I think we're liking a lot of favorites so far, but it is what it is. Total sitting at 33.5. I mean, pick your poison. Do you really think that this is going to be a game in which, neither team shows up? Because that could definitely be the case. Or Shedeur Sanders has a good game because the Titans are so bad. I would still be willing to say, even though it's at 33.5, Caesars right now is hanging at 34. I'm going to lean slightly to the under. But this is such a bad dumpster fire game that with all the other games and playoff implications on the board this week, you might be a psycho if you got something going in this game. But let me know down in the comments. Are you worthy of the Psycho Alert Alarm? Do you have a play in this trash bowl game? Let me know down in the comments. Let's move on. Jacksonville taking on Indianapolis right now. Jacksonville 1.5-point dogs at home. Colts, obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously because, they are, Daniel Jones may be hurt and all that, but I would say they are the better team. But this is a big game for both of these squads, right? When you look at the standings and obviously look at the division here, Jaguars are first in the AFC South. Colts are second. Both of these teams are 8-4. Like, this should be a very, very good game. I think the home field advantage certainly matters in this one, but I also think the discrepancy between Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne compared to Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor is massive, and I mean massive in this one. Both these defenses I would put in a very similar boat. I don't think either one is going to totally pressure the quarterback, but I see Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor kind of, cream rising to the top here. Now, there's plenty of rumors that Daniel Jones is still playing on a bum ankle or whatever it is, and I get that, but I think that they go off here. One thing that helps, and I talked about the home field advantage, it's also going to be rainy, so now all of a sudden, does that top-end talent come back down to earth just a little bit? Maybe if this was Daniel Jones and say Michael Pittman that I'm focusing on. But even if it is crappy and rainy, I think they can hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor and the men up front win this one. So the fact that we're getting the Colts here at a near pick'em price is probably, my go-to. I think the Colts have a nice little, I wouldn't say bounce back, right? But a spot in which they go out there and get the job done here. They are, again, I said obviously earlier, maybe it's not that obvious, but I think they are the far better team. And yeah, I mean, sure, I can use the word bounce back, right? What if they lost 2 games in a row, but they're 2 tough teams? I'm sure they're not feeling too crappy about it, and they're close games, 1 possession each. But maybe they bounce back here. Daniel Jones, hopefully a little bit healthier. In terms of what we have from a total, that's where it's a tough one. And I have no problem saying that because I want to be obviously genuine with you guys and transparent. This game, I pretty much have pegged like right on the number at 48. I could see this easily being like a 26, 22, 25, 23, whatever. Because of the rain, I think I go a little bit more leaning, I should say, towards the under. So that's what I'm going to do. Again, I like Daniel Jones. The rain obviously has me thinking and overthinking, but I like Daniel Jones over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor obviously as well, but I think that Daniel Jones could really step up in this one. All right, Vikes taking on the Commanders. This, I mean, to most people, I think you'd look at this game and be like, this is an absolute gross game, right? Like, if either one of these teams, it doesn't matter for the playoffs in a sense. But Jaden Daniels is playing, J.J. McCarthy's ruled in, so I think we are going to see a little bit of an elevated, at least offensive side from both of these teams, right? Now, on H2H earlier in the week, we got I almost said the Washington Wizards. The Washington Commanders at plus 115. They're now favored at minus 113, and that's because we kind of risked it and gambled it with the Jaden Daniels news. We locked that in before he played. So I do like that. Obviously, it's a little bit different on this show now, a couple days later, where it's like, well, yeah, I want to say Washington again at plus 115, but that number's no longer existent. I still like Washington at minus 113. They're just the healthier team in terms of what I'm seeing. Terry McLaurin, Debo should be good to go. Obviously, Minnesota, has Jay Jettas and they're a little bit healthier too, but if you're going to say health and then compare Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy, I think you're talking about 2 different worlds. Like if Jaden Daniels is healthy and good to go with Debo, with Terry, we could see a little resurgence of that Washington team, right? That we thought was amazing last year. So yeah, I think that they're worth a money line look. I'm glad that I locked them in at plus 115, but I wouldn't have any problem telling anyone out there that I still think that they're valuable inside minus 115. In terms of what we have from a total, it is kind of a weird one because, like I said, you have 2 healthier teams and blah, blah, blah. But, like, the Vikings have looked bad, and I mean bad. Now, Brosmer last week, I was actually in attendance out in Seattle for that game. It looked real, real bad. Now they're going to be a little bit healthier. J.J. McCarthy is better than Brosmer. I don't know how good J.J. McCarthy truly is, but I might consider a Washington team total over before I'd say I move to a full game over or anything like that, because again, I can't sit here and tell you JJ McCarthy's back, they're going to put up 1,000,000 points. Like, jury's still out on him, right? So maybe there is a nice little pivot to, team total over at 20.5 for the Commanders. That way you don't have to, you're kind of trimming the fat, right? And then in terms of player props, there still is a lot of variables. One, didn't really dig too deep for player props in this game, and 2, don't really want to. So yeah, if you have any player props in this game, don't let me talk you off the ledge there. Jets and the Dolphins. Now, this is a funny one to me, and I'll tell you why, because neither one of these teams really, they're not going to make the playoffs. I think I'm safe in saying that. And I do think the Jets, to some degree, have a little bit better of a opportunity here if you just put this game in a vacuum. They play a ton of man. Tua stinks against man. They obviously have Breece Hall, who's a good running back. This is a bad run defense on the Miami side of things. But which team seems like they're heading in the right direction, right? Now, that is the biggest thing here. And honestly, even outside of like the right direction, Miami's already said, hey, we're going to keep this. We're going to run it back next year. McDaniel and all that. Like, we're going to trust what we have. And they have won 4 of their last 5 games. And they beat Buffalo. They beat Atlanta. They got smoked by Baltimore. They beat New Orleans, Washington. Maybe there's like a mixed bag of talent and level of competition there. I get it. But this Jets team, like, why are they trying to win games, right? The more games they win, they're just going to be another dumpster fire next year. So I do see the side of that, but to me, I'm almost putting faith. And Tassos, I believe took the Dolphins on H2H, right? And I got his argument. The more and more I've looked at this, though, it's like, but I do think Breece Hall has a good opportunity in this game. And if Breece Hall does well, I think the Jets can obviously hang around and potentially win this game. So sound on the cycle alert alarm, because a lot of situational stuff would point you right down Main Street at Miami. But putting this game in a vacuum and trying to eliminate all that noise, which it may be value noise, don't worry, I'm not trying to say that you can't listen to the noise. The noise is often important. But I think that just putting this game in a vacuum, you have Breece Hall in a good spot. You have a Jets squad that I do think has a little bit of an edge here. So I'm going to lean towards them. I sounded the psycho alert alarm. I get it. Also, don't mind the idea of Breece Hall and his rushing yards. Last time he played against Miami, which was earlier this year, he had, I believe, 80-something. And this is a Miami team that is allowing like the 5th or 6th most rushing yards to their opponents. Also, don't mind the idea of him popping in a touchdown. Right now, you can get it for plus money, plus 102. He scored last week. That was one of our plays. He scored 4 touchdowns in the last 5 weeks. You love to see that, right? So I like Breece Hall in this spot. In terms of a total, I think both of these offenses are a little strugglesome, but the defenses are nothing really to write home about. I think that this is a Miami team that can struggle because, again, the Jets will play a lot of man and Tua struggles. But you're looking at 40 points here. You know, you could have a 21-20 game and this thing hits the over. That's the direction I'll lean in, towards the over. Real quick, guys, if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 21 down below. You know, you're just about 21 minutes in. I really do appreciate all the support. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, especially if you do like the video. Like the damn video, you know what I'm saying? But really do appreciate all of you guys tuning in, especially, you know, 20 plus minutes in here. We're rounding down, or, you know, the regular season of the NFL, but the content's only ramping up. So make sure to check out all of the stuff we have here on the channel. I'm knee deep in the NBA. Tassos putting out 1 million videos a week on the college football and the end of the season playoffs and championship week and all that stuff. Trey's got college basketball hooked up, quotes with all the clips and short form content. Go ahead and check all that stuff out, guys. Truly do appreciate it. Now let's jump back into these games. Bucks taking on the Saints. This is, now you might look at this game and be like, oh, well, the Bucks first in the division and they're looking good and all that. This is a big game for this Bucs squad. Now, they're getting healthier, right? Mike Evans, they've said he may come back, not this week, but Baker, Bucky, Emeka Egbuka, and Chris Godwin, all listed as good to go. Now, Tristan Wirfs, questionable on the offensive line. This is a big enough game for the Bucs, and I didn't really finish my point there, because you have the Panthers, who are second in the division, and they're breathing down this team's neck, right? The Panthers are 7-6. The Bucs here are 7-5, and, you know, the Panthers don't have an opportunity to grab another win this week, being on but they're on a bye, right? I believe so. So this is a big week for the Bucs to almost not pull away, because obviously you can't pull away while someone's on a bye, but to establish that #1 spot. I think that we kind of see a resurgence of this squad. Obviously, you look at the recent games, and it's like, yeah, they've had some strugglesome moments and everything like that, but this is the New Orleans Saints. This team stinks. They can struggle to put up 10 points on any given weekend, right? And this Bucs squad finally got back in the win column against Arizona in their last game. So yeah, I think that they go out there and put up a big number. I like the Bucs. I like their team total over in this spot as well. The team total over as of right now, let's get an updated line just so you guys have that to work with, because I will say 8.5 is a lot to cover. I think they can do it, but yeah, right here, Bucs over 23.5 for -140 over on DK. I could get behind that. They have barely done that recently, right? Once out of their last 6 games, but on the season, they're still averaging 23.5 points. And if we flip it over to at home, they've hit it in 3 of 5 home games here, and they're averaging 25 points per game at home. New Orleans allowing about 25 points per game overall at 24.6. And when they are on the road, I feel like I'm saying a lot of numbers right now. When they are on the road, this is a team that's allowing, I believe, 27 points per game. So kind of like the Bucs to put up a decent number here today. Player props, maybe Baker, 1.5 touchdowns, something like that. Raiders taking on the Broncos. Now, I hate to keep saying, like, oh, playoff implications and stuff like that. I know we get comments sometimes when we talk about it. But we're in week 14, guys, and the playoff situation is very, very important right now. And if you're not incorporating that into you breaking down a game, or at least just factoring it in, right, then you might be missing out on something. So I think anyone that's hearing this that doesn't need to hear it, they're like, no, duh, you should consider playoffs. But if you're someone that's being like, why are we only focusing on situation and playoffs? First and foremost, we're not only focusing on it, but you probably want to change your mindset to being like, oh yeah, that is something that I should look at, right? And just Google NFL playoff picture. There's plenty of information out there. Anywho, let's get back into this. We got the Raiders and the Broncos. Raiders, obviously, maybe the worst team in the league. I mean, you do have the Titans, who are viable, and the Giants and even the Saints, but the Raiders, like, I just don't see it, right? They have an overpaid quarterback. Genty's the bright spot, but Max Crosby, I can't believe he's still there. Going up against the Broncos, who are, I don't want to say one of the bigger surprises, but they are a team that's going to make the playoffs, right? Like, they are 10-2 right now. Them, the Patriots are two teams. I think I would say the Rams as well. The Eagles, just depending on like their division and standings, like even with a loss or two a year, they still should be good to go. Now, does that make them come out a little bit flat or anything like that? Normally, I would say yes, but because you're looking at a divisional game and, you know, Denver obviously is a young team, they want to keep this momentum going. They've won 9 straight games. They've covered in, I believe, 5 of those 9. I think they come in here and roll. Now, 7.5 points, like I said, that is kind of a key number, but why don't we just look at like a Raiders team total under? You know what I mean? Like we could definitely pivot to that and say, hey, just go out there and do what you do best in terms of stopping the other team from scoring, because they are that good, and we've seen that this year. So I'm going to lean towards Raiders team total under. That is a slight lean, I guess, on my end to the Broncos, but I've said it all year long. I've been right and wrong plenty of times about it, though. I do not like this Broncos offense whatsoever. So, yeah, maybe a total going under as well could be something that we take a peek at, because this Raiders defense, as much as this team stinks, it's not like this Raiders defense is anything to, you know, tip your nose at or something like that. Like, I think that we could see under 40.5 points here. So, Broncos in the under, but I like that Raiders team total under. Even if that number seems really low, I still think that I like it. Cardinals hosting the Rams here. Now, the Rams obviously with a pretty damn big loss last week. Now, I already mentioned when we just talked about the playoffs, right? Like, they're still a team that is most likely in the playoffs, even with, say, a losing week here. But I am kind of rooting against it, because we have the Seahawks at what, +5 something, +550, something like that in our preseason video to win that division, right? So I loved seeing the Rams lose last week, even though we did take them in a parlay. So maybe I didn't. But here is a spot in which it's like, yeah, they're coming off of a loss, going up against the Cardinals, who are a team that is already mathematically eliminated. How could we even sit here and be like, oh man, like Matthew Stafford isn't going to put up a big number. The defense isn't going to absolutely suppress this squad, right? So give me the Rams -7.5 points. By the way, guys, I am well aware that we are liking a lot of favorites this week. But a lot of these favorites have playoffs to play for. I've said playoffs 10,000 times. You know what I mean? They have a lot of implications and situational things to play for where some of these bad teams do not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm onto something there. But I think the Rams in a bounce back spot after being 10.5 point favorites and losing outright to the Panthers, man, oh man, I just can't see that happening again here. Now, in terms of a player prop, right, we've been absolutely on the Jacoby Brissett over in pass attempts, over in pass completions. Now, that line has kind of gotten away from us. It's at 24.5 right now, but he's still been cashing that, right? In his 7 starts this year, he's averaging, I guess not starts, but yeah, I guess you could say starts, right? Because he's played in other games, but in his 7 starts, he's hit this in 4 or I think 5 of them actually. So I don't necessarily mind him going out there and throwing the ball or completing the ball a lot this game. I don't think it's going to lead to them winning or covering or anything like that, but it could, 1, contribute to an over, and 2, contribute kind of to his own player prop. So yeah, I think Brissett does okay in this one. So I'm going to lean towards the over as well. My only concern is, like, this is a really good Rams defense. Are they just going to be like, yeah, well, Brissett can throw the ball. They're not going to do much with it, though. You know what I mean? Packers taking on the Bears, another game that should be pretty damn good now. Finally, we're looking at a spot in which I do like another underdog here. I do think that this Bears team is at least worth kind of sprinkling yet again, in a sense. In terms of, you know, believing in it. I'm not talking about sprinkling monetary or something like that, but, you know, they beat the Eagles. That was on the day after Thanksgiving. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Vikings. They're beating teams they're supposed to beat, but they also have a couple quality wins in there, like when they beat the Cowboys earlier in the year, like that Eagles game I just talked about. This is obviously a Packers squad that may be heading in the right direction. 3 straight wins now, a big Thanksgiving Day win over the Lions. But if you can get this at 7, why not just see if you can trust the Bears a little bit more? They're like the number 1 team right now that people are like, oh, this is a fake team. I'm a non-believer. They're frauds. But they're still winning games. And now you're giving a team that has, you know, one of the better records in the entire league, right? I mean, they're tied with, in the NFC, at least the Rams, but they would be the number 3 team in the AFC. Like, you have a team that is that good, whether their strength of schedule is all that great or not, getting a touchdown? I don't mind the Bears. On the road, they're familiar playing there. Obviously, I would say that, you know, when Green Bay gets to play the Bears at home, it doesn't always work out in a sense. But last time, which was last year, it was in Green Bay, and the Bears won 24-20. Just saying. So give me the Bears in this spot. That total at 44.5 is quite tempting to look at the over. But ultimately, this should be a cold, grindy game, like typical December Green Bay and Chicago type game. So I'm going to lean slightly towards the under, even though I could understand someone making the rationalization to get to the over. All right, Chiefs taking on the Texans. Clearly, there's some big-time playoff implications here, right? I mean, you have the Texans, who realistically have a good chance to make the playoffs with a win. They're starting to get, healthier and healthier. I do believe that some of their secondary is a little banged up, but most likely playing. But Kansas City just kind of not letting me down, but letting a lot of Kansas City fans down for certain. Trey Smith and Jawan Taylor both doubtful on the offensive line. That's the right guard and right tackle. There's been so many times this season, and I know you guys have probably been in a similar boat at times. There's been so many times this season where you're like, oh, this is such a spot where the Chiefs win this one, or they definitely pulled this one out. And they're not. Now, we can say, okay, look at the last 5 games, or last 4 games, I should say. Buffalo, Denver, Indianapolis, Dallas. A lot of tough competition there. But Houston's kind of playing like one of those competition pieces right now. Their 2 straight wins have been Indianapolis and Buffalo, 2 of the teams we just noted, right? So I sit here and I'm like, all right, scratching my chin, where do we go? And the back of my head is constantly saying, come on, just lean towards the Chiefs. You know this late in the year, they're going to win. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. And I have to stop myself and I say, hey, screw it. I don't care if it's psycho. I don't care if it's going against anything that I'm thinking. This Texans defense is legit, and I got to stop at some point thinking that this Chiefs team just is going to do it or just is going to bounce back. Give me the Texans plus the 3.5 points. Total at 41.5 also tells me that defenses will be viable and live in this game, right? I'm saying that this Texans defense is far better than the Chiefs defense. Even though the Chiefs have a very good defense, this Texans defense is probably the best in the entire league, right? So yes, give me the Texans, give me the under, and I don't mind the idea of like a Patrick Mahomes interception or even a Rashee Rice under in receptions. I think Rashee Rice could score a touchdown. I think I talked about that on H2H because they get him so involved around the goal line and everything like that. Like last few weeks is like a 50% red zone target share. But I don't think that Derek Stingley is going to be allowing much action his way overall. So I like that. If you want to say, hey, well, what about X and Xavier Worthy? Maybe that's someone to look as well because he plays more on the outside. I think that could be a very good look as well, kind of looking at him and his under for longest reception or even receptions in general, because I do think Derek Stingley, I've said all along, I think he's the best corner in the league. I think that he's going to be absolutely massive here in this spot overall. But by the way, guys, this is Sunday Night Football. We just talked about it briefly. Tassos does a Sunday Night Football video each and every week. So if you want to kind of look at that and have a little bit more of a breakdown, we don't always agree on the game. So it's not like it regurgitated content. That's a tough word. But he does more of a breakdown, a ton more player props in it. So make sure to go check that out on the channel. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.